Picture this, you arrive in a new country to start a new life after deciding enough is enough. But before you even leave the airport after landing, you've already been scammed by a property agent with hundreds of dollars in fees. You move into your new apartment, which looks decidedly less nice than what you saw in the listing, and then you spend the rest of the day setting up the necessities, and after all of this hassle, you find yourself alone. Does this sound familiar to you? For those of you who have tried this, of course it does. What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel, and if you're new here, I help young people navigate major life transitions to achieve financial and lifestyle freedom of their own definition, backed by my background in economics as well as banking. Now, if that sounds interesting to you, do consider leaving a like and subscribing to this channel so you do not miss any future uploads. So today, we're going to be talking a bit about how to set up a new life in any country. We're going to be splitting this into two parts, namely necessities, before we go into the fun parts of niceties or life setup. So the first thing that we're going to be talking about is necessities. Now, the first thing that you need to sort out before you actually land in that new country is income. That can be replaced by a good savings buffer for a short period of time. Otherwise, you may just have to leave early and go home. When you first land, many urgent needs will need to be met, including the basics of transport, food, finding a home, paying movers to actually move the stuff into the said home, and much more. Now, having money set up will get the problem solved quickly, even though it may not be in the most efficient or cost-competitive way. The reality of the situation is that because you are basically new to that particular environment, you are not going to be able to find the cheapest thing available or the best way to do this. But I digress. I'm not a believer in quitting a particular place or situation without an exit plan. For most, this means finding a job on the other end. I recommend applying to both where you are moving to and your original location, and then getting offers back so you can see if what you're getting in your new location matches your current market value, first of all, and second of all, is justified for the cost of living over there. You may also want to find a backup source of income, especially from my experience in expat life, perhaps one that is remote, because as I mentioned in my previous video, for now, when you land in a new country, basically no support system unless you, of course, already have friends over there. Now, on the topic of finances, getting a bank account is often difficult if you're new, so make sure to have something like a multi-currency account, something like Wise or Revolut. Now, I'm not being sponsored by any of these, and that's why I'm placing both of these competitors in the same video. Moving on to the second point, after you've chosen to make the move, you're going to have to understand that big ticket items are where the biggest scams are. For example, in the UK, I've come across many agents charging all sorts of illegal fees, and even in orderly places like Singapore, there are landlord disputes abound. So in this stage, you're going to want to study the legality of your rights and the process of actually setting yourself up. Personally, I have experience in Singapore and the UK. Links will be down in the description if you want to book a call. On the same token and on the brighter side, big ticket items are also where the biggest savings can be found. You may want to choose to live in somewhere that is quote-unquote undervalued. In my case, in London, that was a place in Zone 4. It was linked to the newest Elizabeth line. It was a really fast ride to the city, less than 20 minutes, so it was basically in Zone 2 for all intents and purposes, but I paid Zone 4 prices. So make sure to spend more time on deciding on big ticket items rather than getting caught up in the weeds of dealing with all of the trivial stuff that you can easily set up once you are there. Which brings me on to my third point, which are that small ticket items are really easy to change. Now, on this token, you're going to want to avoid anything to do with lock-ins and contracts, even though they might be cheaper than what you would get if you were to pay on a rolling or pay-as-you-go basis. The reason for this is that you have no idea what the service quality of that particular offering is. You also have no idea how long you're actually staying in this new place. So to give yourself maximum flexibility, that is one area that you may want to use your money to solve things, even though it may not be in the most cost-effective way possible. Moving on to the fun part, we have the niceties or stuff like life setup. And the first lesson is that friends can generally be hard to find in large cities. And developing an in-group, basically a group that you're close to, can be difficult. From my interactions from various acquaintances, this applies wherever you go. It could be London, it could be Singapore, it could be elsewhere. Now, this is where the extra money from step 1, where you possibly found a side or backup income to supplement your main one, can help. Once again, this is not going to be the most efficient way to do this, but a quick fix nonetheless. Now, if you're dealing with loneliness, a quick fix would of course be to engage someone for a class, for instance, a personal trainer if you're into fitness, or any sort of one-to-one coaching or lessons, so you're at least doing something productive while getting some semblance of human connection that is independent of your original country. I remember in my first 6 months of living in the UK, my social circle basically consisted of people who I used to go to school with, who ultimately left the UK after a while. That left me in quite a bad situation in terms of human interactions, and that is where I started looking for solutions, and the first one in my case was to get a personal trainer. And the reason why this quick fix is something that I recommend will be elaborated in the second point, which is to start going to meetups. Now, meetups are a great way of meeting people in real life, regardless if you're looking for friends or looking to date. And the reason why I said earlier that this may take quite a bit of time is because there's going to be quite a bit of anti-selection in these groups. Now, you just have to think about why people will have to make use of these groups in the first place. There are several reasons to that, and you can expect a lot of quick but superficial interactions, along with some interactions that may not be what you are looking for. Finding a group then could take anywhere between 3 to 6 months from my own experience, both from moving to the UK and then setting up a new life back here in Singapore just several months ago. So now that you're starting to go on meetups, the final thing that you're going to want to do in order to actually start having a good social life in the place that you are living in, this revolves around a concept of not just flitting back and forth, trying to meet as many people as possible, because while you get loads of quantity this way, it often just ends up to a whole bunch of Instagram followers who you'll never meet up with or speak to ever again. I've seen people trying to go about meeting as many people as possible, caught up in the illusion of choice, then they come back and complain that they find themselves lonely. So now that you have carried out all of these steps, you probably have yourself a pretty nice living situation, you also probably have pretty comfortable income, and you also have a nice group of friends. But even after doing all of these steps, you might still want to be aware of 3 key lessons that you're going to have to learn if you were to become an expat, especially as an Asian in the West. And for that, you're going to want to check out this video over here. And with all that being said, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.